How's it going, everybody? This is Game of Thrones Kingsroad, and this is a upcoming free-to-play PC game and also a mobile game. I've spent quite a lot of time with the game so far, and the main character and only character that I've really played is the assassin. I wanted to show you some things that I like about the game, some things that I don't like about the game, and kind of an overview of the assassin character itself. Um, so first off, pros. It's a wide open space. I mean, you have basically an Assassin's Creed style over map with plenty of space of Westeros to explore. It's got all the major points from the show, from the books that you would expect. It utilizes characters from the show and their voice actors, which is nice. Some of the animations and um, character designs are almost there, but some are a little bit a little bit off. But overall, it does a really good job at creating the world of Westeros inside a game, which is, I think it's been over 10, 15 years since a Game of Thrones game came out. There was a Game of Thrones RPG that came out back on the Xbox 360 to kind of put that into perspective. Uh, this game is very similar to Assassin's Creed in the way of the combat system and a lot of the gear system. And by Assassin's Creed, I mean Odyssey, Origins, the newer modern Assassin's Creed games. You have gear, equipable gear, you can craft items, things of that nature. They have bonuses and uh, passive stats that you can forge and reforge and build up your power level. And the entire game is broken up into power level requirements. So for those that don't like the power level requirements and gatekeeping of games, um, like Wolfenstein, that one Wolfenstein game where you couldn't go past a certain area because your power level wasn't good enough. That is similar to this, but there's a reason why. Uh, the world has a bunch of different markers and spaces that you can go. For instance, outposts, historic sites, hideouts, things like that. And you can go through and these refresh daily and sometimes every like few hours or so. And you get rewards based on clearing out these sectors. So the first clear, you'll get better rewards, and then every so often, once they do refresh, you can fast travel back to them, or travel back to them and get uh, basically a little bit lesser rewards. Everything that you do is also determined on RP, which is basically like your stamina system for mobile games. So, or if you played Genshin Impact, you're very familiar with being able to do a limited amount of things per day without spending some type of in-game currency or real-world money to do a refresh. Um, that brings me to kind of the downside, the microtransactions. There are basically monthly subscriptions that you can pay for, which I admittedly have paid for to, learn the best about the game that I can. And that is actually under the shop. So you have your basic things that you can get on the daily refresh, but then there's a monthly subscription that you pay for that gives you additional unlocks and some currency to buy some special looking armors and skins. Basically, is all it is. But I wanted to see if this is really worth it and what you need. The biggest thing that this provides is the inventory space. Inventory space is a disaster in this game without paying for the additional space, in my opinion. I can show you what I mean. So if we go into our inventory, you have basically consumables, common items, and equipment. The consumables, this is your health potions, your daggers, or ranged ammunition. You can craft these things pretty easily. They have a copper cost as well if you want to recharge your health kits. But you can also find these on enemies that you kill. The daggers, there's also refillable chests that you can find while you're playing, and they refill your ammunition, or you can just craft them if you have the right traits. The common items is where the nightmare begins. Well, begins and ends, really. Everything that you find in the game that is not equipment is in this section. So basically, crafting materials, treasure chests that have like randomly generated items, the currency for energy to have a refresh of that energy, blueprints for crafting, uh, even collector's edition items or deluxe edition items, which I was given a deluxe edition code for review. These take up inventory spaces. At this point in the game, I have upgraded my stash 3 times to get 105 inventory spaces. And then due to the monthly bonus, basically, or the monthly pass, I get an additional like 30 spaces. And there's some other ways to increase your storage over time. This is an absolute nightmare at the start of the game. You come across so many different things that you pick up that you lose. You have no space left for picking up items. You'll completely not be able to open boxes or gather materials, anything. So highly recommend that with the limited amount of increases that you do get, which are these little inventory expansion tokens, do not use this on the equipment. Use this on your common items. You have so many different ways of breaking down your inventory, using it to reforge, that all of your equipment space is nothing to worry about. Your common items will inhibit you from being able to open even common chests if you're full. As you can see, even with all of that, I'm still very close to the limit of my space. This is a nightmare. Like, it is, in fact, some ways I feel like it's predatory, because you almost have to spend real world money to make this manageable. I can upgrade it one more time right now with the story items that you find throughout playing the game, which will increase it by a few more, and actually we will do that right now so we can kind of see. So I'm currently at 105. I'm going to spend these 2 to upgrade my inventory space, and it jumps to 115. So that should hold me over. I think I have a little bit of everything right now to where I shouldn't have to use much more space, but reduce it by 30 and you can see where you're running into issues. These are just common items that you will find everywhere, and you need that space. And so that's like my biggest gripe, is basically to play the game and collect items, you need to spend money in some way until later in the game where you can use in-game currency to increase that space, but it's few and far in between. The equipment, like I said, very minimal, and there's plenty of ways to use your equipment, such as set research. This is a cool system where basically as you're finding items, you can put that item of a matching slot for a bigger bonus in the research, or just, any of your trash gear that you find, you can throw that in the set research as well to get these passive bonuses. Savant is kind of like the catch-all, but they each have their own primary and secondary effects that are very good for your character. You also get these on the items that you're wearing. So basically, like, I have this set piece of, I think it's champion. Yeah, champion, which increases my attack power based on the number of times I hit an enemy, and it decreases when I get hit by an enemy. So, this is a really solid set for the assassin. I think all characters, honestly, could benefit from that. And then basically you can mix and match your set pieces on your character, and then if you raise your research up to level 10, you can then add that as a secondary passive effect that will be on no matter what your equipment is, and you can't stack it. So I can't choose my other champion set to duplicate the bonus, I have to choose something that I'm not wearing and utilizing to get the most out of that. So I went with Brute for 10% more flat damage and 10% less damage taken. It's a fairly good, well-rounded bonus. Outside of that, there's a lot to do in the game. There's lots of quests, there's dailies, there's weeklies. The weeklies reset on Thursdays, I believe, actually. Yeah, Thursdays. So it just reset today. There's a guidebook and chapters of basically the guidance for your progression of your character, what's kind of like the best next steps to do. There's challenges, there's boss fights that you can team up with uh, 3 other people to form a group of 4 to fight. You have an estate management where you can build up your crafting of jewelry, equipment. You can assign workers to a workshop. You can send workers out to go on expeditions to claim rewards. So you can see here that, you know, it's randomly assigned, and as you find better workers, the percentage chance goes up for better. So this is a cool system. A lot of the stuff that you're going to see is fairly traditional in mobile games. This is basically a glorified mobile game that has a pretty good PC port. There's Alliance where you check in, you can take on specific missions for your Alliance and complete those up to 10 times a week. So this just gets you in-game currency that you can use to spend on different things in the shop. So in the shop you have exchange rates where you can use these types of currencies that you get throughout playing the game on, and basically skins, frames for your profile, different jewelry pieces, artifact selections, things that increase your crafting or potency of your artifacts, and you're able to you know, build these artifacts up, which allow you to have special effects. And as you're crafting and increasing the levels, the durability goes down, and then in turn you have to restore them with another currency. There's a lot of grinding here to do to basically build up your momentum. Momentum is your power level. You can access certain content, do certain quests to higher your power level. So for instance, I'm not even supposed to be in the zone. Enemies are going to basically two-shot me. I'm going to get destroyed walking around this area. And then as soon as you break that limit, it's like instant difficulty drop. Like everything becomes much more manageable to fight and you know, proceed throughout the game. So that's kind of like your progression, gear check type of environment. Here are the Altar of Memories. And I know I'm going through this fast, but you know, I just wanted to do a one-shot, just kind of here's my thoughts of the game after 70 plus hours. So I will try to cover as much as I can. But this is the Altar of Memories, where you have bosses that you can team up with. Like I said, it's 4-player fights, and they're level capped and also power capped. And then you can do a wish for a reward. This can be, you know, anything from specific sets that you have completed, and then you want to try and reroll for a epic version of that gear. Matchmaking right now is horrendous as well. It takes a long time to matchmake. I've spent upwards of like 30-40 minutes trying to get into one of these, but of course the game is early access, so upon full release of the free-to-play, that'll become much more available. The outposts are kind of like your dungeons style environment, where you basically have to kill all the enemies in the spot, kill the boss, and you know, complete bonus objectives like maybe guard 3 attacks or kill 3 enemies with ranged attacks. All these things to increase your rewards. There's also like these mini ferocious beast fights where you know, I think it's like once per day, but you can go and fight these bosses trying to get rarer and legendary crafting materials that you can then use to basically craft better gear. Um, and then you have, but this, I've only found like one legendary so far, in 50 to 70 hours. I don't even know the length, but just to kind of give you a perspective, this can be quite a grind. Then there's two other things beyond the wall expeditions. This is basically where you fight these stages, kind of like if you played the game FTL, Faster Than Light. You have specific fights and requirements per node that you travel. So you'll see here, like this one I'm fighting wildlife, and I'll get a reward for this. Further on, you'll fight rights, and then there's wildlings as well. This one doesn't seem to have a, and this is a wildling here. After you get through, you can buy upgrades, and every round that you complete, you get upgrades as well until you fight the main boss, and then you get the loot, basically. This is a pretty fun mode. It's single player, so no co-op involved with that. Healing is rare, but the rewards are pretty decent. You can't access that mode until about 3/4 way through the current amount of the game that's available. Next, there is the worm walks. Basically, this is kind of a similar thing where you progress through and just try to beat higher tier difficulties to unlock new rewards like cosmetics, crafting materials, copper, experience for your character, and it gives you like the recommended momentum and things like that. I haven't done very much of it yet, but you can see how many there are, and basically kind of get an idea for what the end game content will look like in terms of power level. So I'm not even halfway there yet with my current gear, which is pretty much for the most part epic gear. But there's different tiers of the gear as well. So an epic tier 4 is going to be better than my epic tier 3. In terms of increasing your current gear, you have the reforging equipment. This is basically if you have a weapon or armor of the same tier, same quality, you can select it and then use, basically melt them together and reforge a random passive trait and statistics for your character. So this is pretty handy, and there's a lot of really solid passive skills that you can get. For instance, one of my favorite is Ignite Weapon +1, or Ignite Weapon Plus. When you use Ignite Weapon, it causes an explosion around you, or like a frontal cone explosion to blow up all the enemies in front of you, causing fire damage. It's very helpful, especially when you're fighting the rights, or basically anybody, because they can all catch fire. The skills and builds, I feel like they're very finite. Like there's not very much that you can do that doesn't make sense. Like poison is a must, like it does so much damage over time. And there's a lot of passive abilities in your default skills that build off of poison. So that's one requirement in my opinion. Ignite Weapon is also really good in my mind. And then, later in the game, Retreat is really solid, especially when you have Healing Smoke, which you throw your smoke grenade down and it heals you 40% of your health. This is very helpful. And it also causes enemies to get dazed, which allows you to do basically a critical strike on them, which is very helpful. In terms of skill trees, there's basically your attack, defense, and support skill trees. Not very much experimentation going on here with me. I find that basically attack is the way to go. Defense might be a secondary, support not so much. Being able to craft throwing daggers is nice, but you can freely reset your traits. So basically I just put level down 1, activate the trait, craft my daggers and then reset. Like I just reset it and put it back where I need to have it. So really simple. Basically your trait tree is increase crit, increase attack power, building up rage faster, things like that. To cancel. And then your skills, you use skill books and basic books to level up these skills, which increases their power. Not so much, it's maybe like 1 or 2% per level. Not very drastic, but enough. And then the strike combos is the majority of your combat. Each of these can be leveled up way more than level 9, but level 9 is kind of the cap where you can get these passive bonuses. So I'm kind of evenly spreading out my abilities there, just so that way no matter what I attack or what attack I end up being able to perform, it's still decent stuff, as opposed to leveling 1, which is helpful in certain situations, but being more well-rounded of a character I feel is better. The system that I do like that system quite a bit of these strike combos, because you can choose these like skill masteries. So kind of like Diablo in a way, you can choose like I want this one to cause blood bursts, and then or I can say I want to have it do more damage against poison targets. In my mind, for assassins, you want to do the blood burst because poison is something that you're gonna apply to a character. These will be applied automatically every combo that you perform. So it makes more sense to me to do that, because there's abilities like Strike Combo 4, which if you level to 9, it will remove all stacks of the blood burst, doing a massive amount of damage and restoring your health. Restoring your health is key. I wish they would mute that a little bit. Restoring your health is pretty key to survival here. You can get pretty easily overwhelmed by the characters that you're fighting and need to heal. And so any type of healing that you can do with your character, I feel is the better way to go. Another skill that allows you to heal is the Strike Combo 1. I've had this for a while, but on poison characters, I'm not using it currently, but when you poison a character, you can do a 1 strike combo if it's leveled up to 6, and you put 1 point in to generate like 1% to 7%, I think, or 5% of your health on max hit. And that's a really easy, like, 2 hit. So 1 light attack, 2 heavy attacks causes that. The one thing that I recommend getting first is the 4 combo. So what that does is 4 light attacks, 4 heavy attacks, and that will restore, I think, 10% of your health. In a second, I'll pull that up. So Strike Combo 4 at level 5 restores 7% if the attack lands. And by saying if the attack lands, it doesn't have to land. It doesn't have to land and hitting an enemy. It just means you have to complete the combo. So I can't tell you how many times, especially in healing situations where you cannot heal with items, and you have to heal either by purchasing step-ups in the arenas. That has saved my life so many times, because you can basically just grind for a few seconds and regenerate your health again. So just for an example, let this person hit me. You can see 435. I'm not trying to get rid of hits here, just to show you. Okay, so as you can see at the bottom left, my health, well, actually you cannot see it. I don't think I can even move this camera real quick. Let me move it up. Okay, so you can see my health there right below the camera. And 1866 health. Just by doing this combo in the middle of nowhere, I can go ahead and heal 400 health. So this saves me on my potions. for the actual fighting, and you can just do this combination to kind of refresh in between the fights. It's slow, but it saves on resources. And a couple updates ago, where copper was much harder to find, this saves quite a lot of money. Overall, the game is good. I like it. I've played enough hours, I think, to kind of demonstrate that I do actually like the game. There are my issues with the microtransactions, but knowing it's a free-to-play game, you know, it's kind of expected, especially if you play mobile games. This is right in the same vein of things. It's not as predatory as some outside of that inventory issue. So, let me show you the different attacks. So this is the explosion I was talking about. And then you can see it's ticking for 160 damage, and you can cast poison on your blades, and it will stack up to 5 times, doing gradually more and more damage. Your artifacts are usable with your key 4. This will provide those passive benefits, and there's 2 types of artifacts: active and passive. Active is the one you use with your 4. Passive is just always active, and those increase like your damage or defenses, depending on which one you're choosing. And you get those randomly throughout of the game. There's a lot more here. House sigils, I'm just gonna fly through this. House sigils, basically as you go through, you can level up different sigils, put them together in a board, and they provide you with a momentum bonus. And it's basically also a relationship type thing, so as you're doing things, you gain reputation with one house and lose it with the other, if they're not aligned. Quests, there's quite a few main quests. There's probably 20 to 30 main quests, and side quests there's quite a few as well that I've come across. So there's just a lot to do. So overall, it's good. I'm excited to see what the free-to-play provides, see who can join, and see if these queues get a little bit faster, so that way it's easier to grind gear. But that's Game of Thrones Kingsroad. Take care.